Hey everybody, Mike Naso here from podweather.com and Internet Partnership Radio with a video update on Hurricane Ike. Ike is a very dangerous Category 3 major hurricane heading directly for eastern Cuba. The northeastern coast of Cuba. It's rather rare to have a hurricane hit this area, but it has happened before, and it will happen in the next 24 hours as the eye of Ike will make landfall. You can see a very favorable looking pattern for this hurricane as it will then move into the Gulf of Mexico from there. The strength and exact track is still as of yet unknown. Here's latest on Hurricane Ike as of 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Ike was at 21.1 north, 75.2 west. Winds were down a bit to 120 miles per hour, but holding steady, gusting up to 150. Very dangerous hurricane, moving west at 14 miles per hour. This map says 13, it's actually 14. Regardless, 14 miles per hour towards the west means that it's no longer moving to the south, 945 millibars, and from here it's expected to come over land in Cuba and weaken significantly by Tuesday morning, be only a Category 1, move out Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and by Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday start to move west to west-northwest over the Gulf and become a major hurricane again. But the cone could be as far north still as the Florida Keys and the Panhandle, or as far south as the Yucatan headed towards Mexico. So there is a large area of unknown with this hurricane. We do have hurricane watches out for the Florida Keys, hurricane watches and warnings, of course, for eastern Cuba, Turks, Caicos Islands, southeastern Bahamas, Cat Island, Crooked Island, the Inagua Islands, all the way over to the Isle of Youth, many areas under watches and warnings because of this very dangerous and deadly hurricane. You can see the pattern here of the wind field. The winds of hurricane force extend out a good bit, which means that as that eye comes ashore, much of the Cuban coastline could see hurricane force winds and certainly tropical storm force even as far north as the Florida Keys, but it's unknown whether or not that wind field will expand, which is why we do have those hurricane watches and hurricane warnings out for areas of Cuba as well as the Florida Keys. You can see there the visible satellite imagery. Ike has continued basically straight west, and right at the end there, it looks very potent, very dangerous. Small hurricane eye headed right for the Cuban coastline there. The Florida Keys, of course, up here. And if it continued that track and then eventually bent to the west-northwest, it could even come out on the south coast. So do not rule out yet again a second landfall in Cuba if Ike does end up taking a track, something like that. You can see the Cuban radar here the last hour or so has continued pretty much straight west, a very well-defined eye. There's the outer eye wall forming, and what's going to happen is this inner one will dissipate and the outer one will take shape. Now the good news for Cuba is before it has time to do that, it's going to make landfall. The bad news is that's going to expand the wind field. You're going to have very potent winds within an area, say this large, rather than right in here, and that's going to cause significant wind damage across the island of Cuba. And again, depending on what the organization is when it comes out, it could strengthen right back. Here is the model guidance, and again, they're all in good agreement. The no gaps is the furthest north, having it move generally to the west-northwest. The UK Met's the furthest south, having it make a second landfall in western Cuba and then head towards Texas. Right now, all the models generally agree that once it does leave, it'll start to bend a little to the north and then back to the west, which is an indication that the ridge will back off a bit and then rebuild in. And that does have some landfalls from the Florida Panhandle all the way to Texas. And that is why right now, Florida Panhandle and Texas, you're going to have to watch this system very carefully. The NAM model, as you can see, takes it over Cuba, takes it back out, heading in the general direction of Texas, Mexico. The GFS, which surprisingly shows it up pretty well. Remember, a lot of systems, it doesn't show well, even, it'll show a major hurricane out of nothing, but when we have a major hurricane, it'll show nothing. Not the case with Ike. It does show a very powerful major hurricane slamming into Texas and Louisiana. You can see the H-Wharf model, Category 4, headed for the Louisiana, Alabama area. You can see there the GFDL also taking it towards Louisiana, more towards the middle western part of Louisiana as a Category 3. And the no gap's taking it more towards the Panhandle and the Alabama coastline. And note here it has a second system popping up here. Whether or not this is the remnant of Josephine, we'll have to wait and see on that. Now, in general, landfall in the next few hours should occur in the general vicinity of Baines, Cuba, and this is Unas, and this is Aguas Claraso, and all these areas could feel the wrath of the eye of Hurricane Ike as it heads up in this general area, and then Delicus will feel the impact as well, and then all the way up the spine of Cuba will get a large impact from this major hurricane. Again, Ike, you could see it began way out as Cape Verde hurricane, depression, tropical storm, and then as soon as it became a hurricane, it almost instantly jumped from a Category 1 to a 2, 3, 4, and it's been a Category 3 or 4 for most of the time, brief exception of becoming a Category 2 a few days ago, but again, it came right back up to a Category 4 yesterday, and it is headed towards Cuba as a Category 3, a classic lawn-tracked, bend back to the west major hurricane. Florida, right now it appears you're going to get off lucky. Let me tell you, in the Keys in southeast Florida, if it had headed more towards your area, you would be dealing with an Andrew Charlie type hurricane with this storm, so be very thankful. But again, the United States is not done with Ike yet, and a major hurricane impact might still be in the cards. You can see shear's very low over the top of it, should be low in the Gulf. Water's very warm. Look at how hot they are right here around Cuba and right in the western Gulf of Mexico. Very, very hot waters, and that is why it is anticipated that Ike will quickly rebound from a weak Category 1 to a Category 3 in the Gulf, and who knows if they'll get stronger after that. The impacts of Ike for Cuba: landfall late Sunday, early Monday morning. Expected to strike the northeastern Cuba coastline, and winds could be sustained near 120 or higher, depending if it organizes a bit, with gusts up to 150, no doubt. Storm surge flooding up to 9 to 12 feet near the impacted area, and the rainfall potentially 6 to 10 inches for Cuba, with isolated maximum amounts of up to 15 inches. So very serious there. Final note on Hurricane Ike: a very large and dangerous hurricane on this satellite, although hurricane force winds are still tightly around the center, which is great news, but those hurricane force winds are of Category 3 intensity right around the eye, and that's headed directly for Cuba, and then eventually the Florida Keys will feel an impact, and then somebody along the Gulf Coast will feel an impact from dangerous Hurricane Ike. That's it for this time. Stay tuned to podweather.com and IPR365.com for continuing live coverage of major Hurricane Ike.